And I remember hearing this so strongly, like systems must go. Like she was like, all the systems are going to go. I did also feel, if I'm being honest, Earth is going to erupt in many ways. There will be a lot of climate things happening. And it depends what perspective you're looking at it from. But from the Earth's perspective, she's mad and she wants to get our attention. So she was showing me that there are going to be climate disasters happening. But on the flip side of that, what was shown to me was the community that will come out of that, and the people that will have to come together because their homes will be destroyed. That there will be things that will happen, they'll lose everything. All they have is community. And it was showing me, people are going to be sitting around the fire just singing and going back to old tribal times and the connection. It was very much understanding and showing me that things aren't as concrete as we seem, but it is for a higher good, that something new, a new Earth is being purged, a new Earth is being birthed. And as long as we follow that 5D intelligence, we are on the way to that.
Ella Ringrose, welcome on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now in your life?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Honestly, the frequency of joy. I have never had more fun in my life the past couple of months, and I just, every day, that is my main intention in everything I do, that I just want to infuse in joy. So it's not a specific thing, but it's making every moment joyful. Yeah, I feel like a kid again.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation with Richard Rudd, the founder of the Gene Keys, and he says that the essence of spirituality is play, is joy, is laughter. And I think we sometimes get disconnected from that when we're too in the, let me be very spiritual and serious and rigid. So it's beautiful that you brought that up and starting that energy with joy. Ella, it almost seems like we're at a very interesting precipice in the world right now, where humanity is almost entering a split of two different timelines. It's either this or that, literally. There's no gray areas here. So I would love to explore that with you, of what timelines you've seen or felt into for humanity right now, and where are we right now as a species?
Yeah, it's beautiful that you say a split, because it very much is a split of the intensities. So the polarities are insanely intense. So it seems like the worse is getting worse and that the better is getting better. It's like both. And whenever I tune into my guides and I tune in with the Earth, I always know that the Earth will be saved. Like the Earth will rise in consciousness. The Earth will be a place of heaven again. But when it comes to timeline splits, I really believe it's down to each and every single one of us. I don't believe that it's like the world's just going to be this way and this way. I believe that we are a part, like I see it as like we're all a web of that creation, of being able to create the reality that we want to see. And therefore we're filling that timeline. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. So like the more people tune into raising the vibration, eating healthy, tuning into their soul's essence and allowing that to be expressed, we are fulfilling the left timeline, let's say, versus the right timeline, which is kind of denial, suppression, blockages, eating junk food, things that are diminishing that soul essence that will fill that. So when it comes to New Earth and the highest timeline, I like to hope it is all about community. It's extremely important. And I think people are feeling that now more than ever with like the online worlds. They're craving intimacy, in-person connection. So the more the online world gets bigger and rises, the community side is going to rise. So I've always been shown that both sides are going to expand. It's like the polarity. So the new Earth is going to rise and then the old Earth is going to rise as well, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So it's really just choosing what timeline you want to embody and live by and be a representation of. Essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think when I mentioned there's no gray areas here, I was also referring to it's either a path of fear or a path of love. And that highest timeline being the path of love. And I'd also love to get into your own psychic spiritual awakening, let's say? Because I know that you said that it started with you meditating to a specific hertz frequency, and you put a crystal on your third eye and something happened. If you want to share with us what activated within you, and how you're using those gifts now in the work that you're bringing to the world.
Yeah, I love this question because it feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like I've been psychic my whole life. But it was when I went through like my crazy spiritual awakening, and something told me in my soul to go back to Ireland. And I rented this apartment, and like Emilio, when I say I was in lockdown when it wasn't lockdown, I was in my room all day because I was so fascinated by the spiritual world. I didn't want to connect with other people. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I was like absorbing this knowledge. I'm sure you were as well, like online, like researching. I was reading every book under the sun. And so I love writing, and every night I would write on my Google Docs and like channel words. And so essentially one night I felt, it actually kind of just came to me. I felt this angelic presence step into my body. And so it started writing. It was saying, I am Archangel Raphael. All these words started coming up. I still have it on my Google Docs. All these messages started coming in for me, and I was freaked out. I think I read a book on angels the week before, so I was still like kind of opening up to that realm. And the Google Doc came out and said, if you don't believe me, go over to your bookshelf and open page. It was like 32. I can't remember what page. So I went and grabbed that book and opened page 32, and it said Archangel Raphael. And it was just like staring back at me. And it said the angel of Libras, and I'm a Libra. So I was really freaked out at the time. And I was like, this is like so fascinating. There's another realm that is communicating with me, connecting to me right now that my whole life have been led to believe is not real. You know, like my whole life, it was very logical. I was extremely anxious, very fear-based. And so to connect to this presence within me that was so soothing, was so loving, was so calming, was like unknown to me. So I went to the crystal store the next morning, just intuitively guided, and I got like an amethyst crystal, which, by the way, if you're wanting to develop your psychic gifts, amethyst is a very powerful crystal. And that crystal was like my baby. I was sleeping with that under my pillow. The minute I woke up, putting it on my third eye, listening to hertz frequencies. And one day I set the intention that I wanted to open my third eye. And the only way I can describe it was as if this purple light like shot me, like a firework of purple explosion, my whole body. I didn't know what chakras were at the time either. I just knew third eye was like what the psychic ability was. I didn't know what the color was, correlated it to. So I like ran up and Googled, and it was like the purple is the third eye. So every day I just started meditating on my third eye and just allowing visions to come through, starting to connect to that voice, not questioning it. Because I think so much of us, when we hear that psychic guidance, it is our voice. It does sound like my inner monologue. It doesn't sound like, you know, a Archangel Michael and this like masculine voice. It's like my tone. So it was really learning to like trust that more and more. And so I became religious about doing this every day. And as I did, as I started to go out into the world, I was able to see people's auras. I was able to see the pain blocked in their body. I was able to know exactly what they were going through. I knew if someone was lying. It was like every like layer had like come off, and like I could see the veil clearly of the world. And I was like, what is going on? Like, how are people not seeing this? And so it just got really intense. So I felt the call to move to the Canary Islands after a couple of months of just practicing this and isolating and being this like psychic wizard in my room, and no one knew what I was doing. And so I went to the Canaries, and I literally just started walking the beach and asking people if I could give them readings. So it just was something Spirit told me one day, like, do this because you need validation that what you're tuning into is correct, or else I like wouldn't feel confident. So I tuned into this guy, and immediately I knew he had lost his job. He was going through all these different things, and he was like freaked out. He was like, who told you all this, you know? And so that little barometer of trusting that psychic information was true, I just started doing it to everyone. And then one day I heard Spirit saying, you know, you have to offer readings now. I was actually living in Finland at the time. I moved to Lapland. So I was like traveling all over the place, giving people readings for free. And then I heard the voice of Spirit say, you're ready to do calls. You're ready to give readings for people to tune into their guides, because I speak to guides just as clear as I speak to humans. Like, the voice is so clear to me. So I think I've done now 1,000 psychic readings of people all over the world. Yeah, tuning into their guides, giving them advice. And the beautiful thing I've learned from connecting to hundreds, if not 1,000 guides, is they love you so unconditionally. They don't actually really care about, I don't want to say like your karma or your purpose or anything. They just want you to be happy and be in love. They love you so unconditionally and they want the best for you. And so when I tune into psychic readings, it's not like this is what your future holds. They share all the tools, the things they need to eat, the things they need to heal in the present moment so that they can access more of that joy. So it went from kind of feeling and seeing psychic as like this like future thing and seeing the future and seeing these timelines to what can we anchor in the present moment that will support us. So that is really how I see spirit is now, that this present conduit that we can access anyone at any moment to fulfill us in this now moment, rather than trying to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. And I've had so many clients who struggle to connect as well, or to hear. And I really feel that everyone has their own gifts. So some people feel deeply. I don't. I feel, but I don't feel spirit. I hear them and I see them like as clearly as people. For some people, it is essentially just a knowing, you know? And then for other people, I really recommend, if they're wanting to connect to spirit, there's so many ways, like automatic writing, third eye meditations, prayer is a huge one. It's the first thing I do every morning. There's so many ways to access spirit. And I feel that the more people open their eyes to that realm, that it is coexisting with us, that it is here with us, the more supported, guided, and led you are in your life. And it really does flow with ease. You may seem like a very, naive person because you have so much faith, but it always works out. And I conduit that. I give that up to spirit, and my gratitude for spirit guiding me every step of the way.
Huh. And in terms of the archangels, I mean, there's so many of them out there. It's very interesting that the specific one, Raphael, was coming through for you. Do you think there was a specific thing that Archangel Raphael was communicating at that time, or a lesson that you've carried with you since then?
I actually don't know. I think it was just like, I'll hop in first and speak to Ella. You're next. Because right after that, I remember going into a church because I love the energy of churches. I'm not Christian. Mm-hmm. And I heard Archangel Michael come into me and said, go around the corner. I'm just watching you. And I went around the corner and there was a massive statue of him.
Wow.
So they all come in at random times. Chamuel, they all come in. So I'm not sure if he wanted to symbolize that because it was the angel of Libras. I'm not sure. But yeah.
And I'm really interested to know, because you said that before you understood how to harness this purpose and unlock all your gifts, your passion, you determined yourself as a broke healer before that. What is a broke healer, and highlight how we can go from a broke healer to the flip side of the coin with whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about this because, and it's so weird you say this because me and my best friend were just having a discussion about this right before the call. We're living in Hippie Town. Like, this is the place I'm in Guatemala is actually called Hippie Town.
Where is it? What city?
In Guatemala, San Marcos.
San Marcos.
Yeah. And so a lot of people here are very much like, like healers should be donation based, because psychics hundreds of years ago, it was donation based. You could not offer a fee. Even like people here, like midwives, the Mayan women weren't allowed to charge for ages because it was considered witchcraft. So there's a very deep wound around receiving and spiritual practices and spiritual gifts. And so I call it the broke healer because it's essentially this belief that we should not charge for this service. When I share with clients and I share with people and just around the world, I'm like, if you look at people, just go walk through New York City or walk through your local village and just look in people's eyes. This is the most valuable service on the earth that is needed right now. And if we are not charging for our services, if we are not allowing ourselves to access that abundance, how can we serve many people? Like, of course we can give, but this paradigm of over giving, and this is what I did before. I was so burnt out. I was giving to everyone. I was like, I thought that's what a light worker was to do. So I would just sit down and listen to people for hours. And I was so drained. Like, I would go to like parties, festivals, and I would just listen. I'd be like, yeah, I'm doing my light work. I was exhausted and I hit burnout. And I was like, how am I meant to sustain this? And so what I realized really was like, if in this day and age, money it's needed. We can't bypass and gaslight ourselves. And I see a lot of spiritual people gaslighting themselves, kind of acting like that's not a real thing of this world. It used to be. not anymore. And so I really feel that this paradigm of let me overgive and burn myself out, is that a real representation of what we're wanting to see in the world, of like exhausted, burnt out people who are trying to like help? Or if they are renewed, energized, healthy, you're able to help more people, and you're also leading by example. And so I feel that's so incredibly important to shift that paradigm to valuing ourselves and the gift that it is needed. Because when we look around at people, everyone needs this right now. Everyone needs this. It is the most valuable thing that is needed on earth ever. So I see it just as reasonable as, you know, like if you had a plumber in and you're like, I'm not going to pay you. This is my birthright to have like a clean toilet, to have like a working toilet. It's kind of the same with spirituality. You know, it's like, well, who's to say? It's like it's our birthright, but we do have to charge for that as well. And I really encourage light workers and healers to really see it that this is a very powerful mission. And this is a mission for greatness and expandedness, and to dream big and to play big in whatever way that is for you and whatever feels right to you. Yeah.
It's also another way of seeing it is that spirituality, and also I know you've been studying shamanism for 7 years. Spirituality in a way is a way to help us get as close to nature again as we can. And that's also what biohackers are trying to do right now, is getting as close to nature as we can. And nature, when you observe it truly, is abundant, is what we would consider as an overflow of energy. And nature gives from having that nourishment from below, from beneath. So I heard you say that if there's one thing that you've mastered in this life, it would be the wealth codes. So staying on that topic of really stepping into, as light workers, our services and changing the paradigm of business and what it should be like, or what it's emerging as in the new earth, where do you see the topic of wealth moving into where we're going into the future? Where have you seen that transition?
Yeah, this is so funny you say that, because yesterday I went into a tattoo store, and the minute I sat down, all these people started flooding in, and he looked me right in the eyes and he was like, what power do you have? Why are all these people coming in to buy things now? It was just like so funny that you say that. But with wealth, there's two sides to this. So I'm not going to deny the fact that most industries that are creating money and wealth are creating deforestation, are destroying the earth. So there's basically a lot of darkness that's coming with money, right? But what I speak about is like I just finished a group. I was doing group mentoring. There was 168 people in it, and we were all just discussing how money makes us feel in our body. And Spirit was saying like the amount of fear, scarcity, like actual anxiety that in the body comes when we feel money is actually polluting earth on a greater scale. Because if we think of our auras and the collective auras, if we are literally vibrating that every day towards a form that is very present in every one of our lives, money, we are actually co-creating a part of this really dark energy. And so Spirit was like, the number one thing that needs to happen in the new is we need to somatically rewire our body to feel pleasure, to feel expanded, to feel safe, to feel loved by money. Because it's really just a piece of paper. So when we actually realize at deeper level, it's a lot of ancestral trauma. It's a lot of, like even in Ireland, the ancestral trauma, I've noticed Irish people are extremely hatred towards money. They don't like other people kind of thriving. There's a very scarcity mentality. And we go back, the famine, right? In the famine times, it was this starvation, this poverty, this fear of it happening again. So that's ancestrally in our body. And so Spirit is always telling me that we, as an individual, every person listening, needs to make a conscious decision to firstly be aware of like what they're feeling when they feel money. And I did this meditation where I allowed people to like tap in. And like, I just said these words like, money is good. What is money? And the amount of people that were feeling anxiety, feeling sick, feeling stressed, getting in their head, thinking about work. And it's all about moving into the new of how can we change that feeling? How can we shift that frequency within us so that we are not adding to a part of that reality for people? Because it's a deep shadow in everyone, specifically in cities, I've noticed as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were talking about your tattoo shop experience where all these people flood in. I also believe that has to do with the magnetism of the feminine energy. And I know you have been going through an awakening, in a sense, of this divine feminine energy, your work that you were doing in Bali and before that. So what can you tell us about the importance of this shift, where the feminine has been suppressed for thousands of years in the past? What is coming up to the surface right now, and how can people utilize that energy to start magnetizing not only wealth, but magnetize opportunities, people, their dream life in whatever that masquerades as? What is the importance of that divine feminine energy awakening, and how did you go through it?
Yeah, I feel magnetism is your true essence. It's like your unique scent, your unique perfume. So on the world, when we see the divine feminine suppressed, I always use this analogy, and ayahuasca showed me this analogy. I'll give an example for myself, because I used to be a makeup artist. So I was very much, when I went through my awakening, look at everything from the holistic route, and just physically witnessing even the products people are using on their skin, like the denial of the humanness, the essence, the feminine. Was like every day I was depressed and I was crying before my job, and I'd put on this full face of makeup and I'd act really happy, and everyone would call me this super happy girl. Ayahuasca showed me like that example of the divine feminine is like this part of us that we're hiding, that is expression, that is emotion, that is feeling. And we're all just kind of like putting on this like wall, this mask that everything's fine. And so the suppression is very much an internal journey that we're witnessing on Earth. But what's happening on Earth right now is the Earth is purging. So people are purging. So they may feel over emotional. They may feel over like all these things flooding out of us. But it's not to think that that is a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful part of the purging journey, because for myself, I spent about 2 years just grieving all the emotions I blocked my entire life. Every day I would sit down and just get memories when I was 4 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old that I just had to feel. But on the other side of that was this emptiness. Like I see it as when we feel and when we honor our truth, I think that is really the feminine essence, is your truth, and honoring fully every part of yourself. Once I honored and opened myself up to my truth, there was so much room in my body for new things, for new space. It's like we can't get a whole new apartment worth of furniture if our apartment's filled with old furniture. We have to kind of empty that vessel out. So I see it as that essence, that magnetism is firstly getting so connected to your soul. I see it as like a click. I always see it as like a click. When you were in full alignment with your soul, there's just like a click. And then you're not even thinking, you're expressing, you're feeling, you're embodying that higher self aspect of yourself. But for the feminine awakening, for me, it started quite quickly. I was my guides told me at the time I was wearing like a lot of fake tan. A lot of Irish women, like that's like our thing. I was wearing it for years. Oh my god, yeah. Like
people have asked me if I get fake tans, but really I just get in the sun for a little bit and I'm orange.
You're very lucky. In Ireland, every woman wears fake tan, and I was in an industry where like you had to wear fake tan, you had to have your hair like straightened every day, you had to wear full face of like all this makeup. And so one day my guides told me, fake tan is cancerous. And at the time that was like terrifying for me. And I started researching down this rabbit hole and realizing all these studies had like been pushed away over 10 years ago when it started getting big. And my guides told me I had to quit 2 products. They told me I had to quit Olaplex, which is like a female hair conditioner, and then the specific fake tan brand. 6 months later, those 2 products were pulled from the shelves all over the world because they were causing like extreme illness in the body. Like those 2 specific products my guides told me. So it started me just becoming aware of that. And then I moved to the Canaries and I went on like a full rebirthing. I quit makeup, I quit shoes, I quit all polyester clothing. I quit all the like mainstream like products like skincare. I started making my own products. Like I make my own shampoo, I make my own cleansers, I make my own moisturizers, I make my own perfume. Really stripping back to earth. And that is feminine energy as well, as using earth's medicine to enhance your own essence and your own magnetism. And the reason I say that is because since stripping back and being in a holistic world now, I am so freaking happy. And that is what cultivated my dream life and makes me able to do all these things that I want to do, because I feel so good and I feel so alive. And so I have a very strong passion just for the products people are using, specifically women and the cosmetic industry, because I was in it for so many years and seeing how that is depriving and blocking and like pulling women dry of their feminine energy and pushing them into this state of survival, because most of these products are really bad for us. They're damaging for the body. And I really just feel that the more the consciousness of the feminine becomes aware, we become aware of what we're putting in our body, what we're consuming. And that goes for media, that goes for all the things in the world, external, our jobs. Is it fulfilling us? Is it satiating us? Every aspect of that feminine awareness is what allows us to cultivate a life that makes us happy. So that is, essentially where that journey kind of started for me and where I am now. Yeah.
And the children of the new earth are going to be born into a very interesting world right now, because we're in the midst of this transition. The frequency on the earth is different. We've seen all the amounts of solar flares that have been going on in the past 2 years, more than we've ever seen in history. The Schumann resonance is crazy. And, essentially with this frequency, our bodies will be changing as well. So I love if we could speak upon how the new children or the younger generations are going to be affected by all of these changes if we don't really step in and make the necessary, this is not aligned with the physical body anymore, the energy of the earth, and really speak to the importance of that.
Yeah, this is such a good, an incredible topic, and it's my favorite topic is the children. Even yesterday when I went to that tattoo artist, his son was there, and he was telling me how his son sees spirits, and his son was saying to him, like, "Daddy, if I ever reincarnate as a soul, I'm going to be I'm going to be in your family. I'm always going to follow you in the soul." Like this son is only 6, and he was saying all of this. And I have so many clients with children who see auras and see angels and spirits, and I am so excited. Like, I feel that right now there is so many children coming in that are so aware that age is really not a thing. I don't look at them and judge them by their age. Like, they're extremely intelligent, wise souls. And I've also had a bunch of clients that's given me so much faith, who purely do this work from the devotion of their heart in their own time, where they're sending healing to the children's immune systems, to their bodies. Because I even have clients who are running schools and they're highly awake. So they're like principals of schools, helping these schools, like they call them light worker schools. And I was like shocked that these are happening. And I have clients who are starting communities all over the world. So I have so much full faith that there are enough people on the earth right now to support the children that are coming in. At the same time, I do feel like right now the food industry is awful. I feel the medical industry a lot of the time is really hurting children. And I know there's going to be a lot more illnesses that are going to be sent out to the collective. And so the main importance for the newer children is actually that their immune systems are strong, that they're very strong. So I feel it's extremely important that we promote health energetically, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And also the thing Spirit has always told me, which really excites me, is they're kind of saying they need to speed up the process. So a lot of light workers were born into families that essentially their parents might not have been awake. It was a very traumatic life for them. It was really difficult. Now children are being born by awake parents everywhere. So what's happening is, and they were showing me this beautiful reflection that the parents did the running so that the children could do the walking, or it's the other, whatever way that analogy goes, is like, the amount of people that are awakening in consciousness are going to be birthing children who are also of that light. So I don't even feel like there's anything we necessarily need to do. I feel like it is already happening. And we just all have to trust our individual work is serving that purpose, because I get so excited and I can feel the presence of it. And it's already here. It's already happening. It's already alive. It's just important, if there were one thing, to encourage the children to be authentic and to be themselves, because I have had clients who are literally like 13 years old who literally are sitting in school being like, I know I'm here. I'm looking out going, why the hell am I here? Like, why am I learning this? So I feel that blip is them trying to fit in and be normal and be part of like the other people. So I think it's really important to encourage their curiosity, their imagination, and their natural gifts. And that is all that will be needed, really. Yeah.
And to go even more specific, let's say hypothetically, baby Ella pops out, right? And how would you raise a child right now in this world? What systems are you looking at right now? You mentioned the education system. What are you looking at? And you'd say, I would do this differently because you know you're in tune with what the new children need right now as the new earth and the frequency is shifting.
Yeah. Oh my God. Firstly, that was when I really realized I'd far gone, because I was like to my mom, I was like, I am homeschooling my children 1000%. That is very much something I am passionate about. And I will speak about that because I dropped out of school at 17 years old. I was sitting in the back of math class going, for me, this was useless. The definite thing I want to do is homeschool my children. I don't want to. And it's not ridiculing, because I've met beautiful teachers and I've met beautiful people, but the system at a large is a very memorizing game. Yeah. It's very much learning things that necessarily don't develop our spirituality, our emotional well-being, our health. And so I'm extremely passionate about shifting that. And I also, school is only a new thing. It's like only the past 300 years, I think even less, it was designed for people to become workers, to become obedient. And it breaks my heart because my greatest teachers are children. I love children and their joy. And so when we see that kind of get sucked out of them as they get older, and also the deeper you're embedded in the system, it's very hard to see anything outside of that. And I don't want my children going into that. So I will be homeschooling them for sure. The first thing I'll be doing is teaching them how to breathe, how to meditate, how to connect, how to be anchored. Feeding them, of course, organic.
Put them in an ice bath.
I don't know about that, but the food is a very important thing as well. Organic, everything. It's very important that they're out in nature and playing. And I feel that it's funny because all my friends who were saying when we have children, we'll basically have our own school because we're all like thinking the exact same way. I think it's very important for them to feel loved unconditionally and to encourage them to be anything but like to be just themselves, and being really conscious and taking responsibility as parents. Of course, I've had clients, where we look at like the TV industry and the TV shows that have like a lot of subliminal programming for children. And it's like, it's easy to say like, okay, it's going to be this beautiful life and I'm going to raise my kid perfectly. And then you haven't slept for 4 days and you just want to give them an iPad and shut them up, right? Like that, let's just be real. So there's parts, of course, nothing's going to be perfect. But I think for the most part, I want to pull the screen time away as much as possible, feed them real food, get them in nature and allow them to develop their own gifts as much as they want and just to be happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't want them working a job that doesn't make them happy. Yeah. Yeah.
And right now there's a lot of categorization going on with the children and the generations. We've heard the term indigo, crystal, rainbow. What does that truly mean at its essence? Where I can be like, my sons are a rainbow. Yours, I don't know. He looks kind of like red or something. Like, what would you say is the essence of those categorizations that are being planted into like the spiritual vocabulary in a way?
Yeah. I honestly I find it kind of funny because I feel like we are so much more than these labels. Like I was like told I was a crystal and I have a crystal aura, and for a year I was like, I'm a crystal and like so serious. And I was like, I can only be this way. And now I'm like, no, like we can be a starseed, an earth angel, like all of it. I don't really like grasp to those as religiously as people might think. I do believe like indigos were the first waves, crystals were the second, and rainbows are the third. And rainbow energy is the children who have very little karma, and they are just here to be the light and literally just be in joy and fun, and they're very creative. But with those words, I'm actually at a point where I don't really see the importance in them. I think as long as you are encouraging the light in everyone, that is all that matters. And I feel that sometimes like we're so much more than those words. And I think just encouraging people to dive within, unless it makes someone happy, like it made me happy to call myself a crystal for years. Now I'm like, whatever, is like
change your name to Crystal.
Yeah, literally
Ella Crystal.
Ella Crystal. Yeah, exactly. So it's like I don't really care. I'm just like, if you're happy, if you're enjoying yourself, if you're on your purpose, like go you. Like I'm not. I used to be so in that narrative, and I'm really not anymore. Yeah, but I do think there are volunteered souls all over the world. I'm not denying that fact, 100%.
Let's talk about that. What's the volunteer process like? Have you remembered why you volunteered?
Yeah, I actually remember being born as well, which I can share. And I've always
sure.
remembered the hospital room. But I'll share, interestingly, being born. But the voluntary process is, you know, Earth needed help. And a lot of souls were like, I'm ready to come down. And I can actually send you a video to put in the description, because it's called The Fall. And it's one of the most beautiful videos I've ever seen in my life. And it's showing souls volunteering and seeing the Earth that it needs help. Me and my friend like watch it every day and we cry every time. But I believe a lot of souls.
Is that by
volunteer.
Charles Eisenstein? The poem?
I think so. Yeah.
He's been on the
it's
show.
Called The Fall.
I love that.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So I'll link that video
God.
and I'll link the interview with him if people want to watch.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to watch that. It's a beautiful video. But the volunteering process is just, you know, bringing your essence down and wanting to support and wanting to assist and wanting to help. And the beautiful thing is we're very supported. Any human is very supported because there is a 5D intelligence now in the world that we can tune into. It's not like we're just kind of lost and confused. There is a literal intelligence that the Earth is vibrating at and emitting right now, which is why I always encourage people to get out into nature. I'm like barefoot 99% of the time, barefoot at the gym, walking, or getting grounding shoes to connect to the frequency of the Earth. She will support you. And so I find because a lot of volunteer souls might have felt lost. Right now, no, there is a lot of support for us now to connect and tune into that. But essentially, of course, we go through the veil of forgetfulness. The way I'm shown how we're born is we go through a cleansing bath. What I can describe it as is I went through a tunnel, like this purple tunnel, then through a bath of water to cleanse the soul, purify it of any energy, and then you're dropped into the body. And like, I'm actually convinced that a lot of the children cry because they're like traumatized from being detached from source. Because when I remembered and was tuning in, I was bawling, crying because I missed that feeling so much, because it goes from such a high to like density. And then I just remember crying. But it's beautiful because all the souls that are remembering now, it's the most beautiful healing medicine, because you live like, you know that this isn't the end. And so you're not living in a fearful, dense mental world of just seeing the world the way it is. You're actually living from a higher intelligence, which is what I call 5D intelligence, living from the heart, living from love. But the 5D intelligence is a bit bigger than that as well. I don't see it just as the heart. It supports every chakra. It supports every essence. It supports joy. It supports laughter. It supports singing. It supports speaking up for yourself. It supports and works with all of the frequencies. Yeah.
Yeah. From what my mom told me, she said that I popped out and essentially I was quiet for like 5 minutes, and then she's like, what's going on? She's looking at the doctor, and the doctor said, no.
Oh my God.
She just said, no, he's a happy baby. I think I just like, I'm like, here again. I'm like, oh my God. Here again.
Yes. Wow, I love that.
Interesting.
Did she have a natural birth?
I believe so.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
She did lose a child before, a couple months before me. And actually, we recorded a series not too long ago on psychic abilities for a TV network. And one of the episodes was with a medium, Lisa Williams. And we went to go get dinner with Lisa afterwards. And, you know, like, I wasn't looking for like any reading or anything, but I was like, if it comes up. And I'm sitting next to Lisa and I tell her like, oh, this happened to my mom. Like, it's interesting because I know that still if it was a pregnancy, there was a soul, right? There was a soul connected to that. So it would be interesting if maybe you could tune in. And she's like, all right, do you want to know everything? Because she asked that before giving any reading. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, whatever needs to come up. And she closed her eyes. She starts communicating with the soul. And she says, okay. First of all, she just wants, right? She said it was going to be your sister. She wants your mom to know that she had nothing to do with this process. Like, it wasn't her fault at all. This was a contract made between you and her. And essentially you two have been working through many lifetimes together. And in this lifetime, we knew it was going to be, you know, greatest party on earth, right? It was going to be a huge shift, a lot of challenges as well. And only one of us was going to come down and the other was going to support from the other side. And essentially she had decided to come in, but something happened in that process where she backed out and I stepped in for her. So Lisa was explaining all this process for me, and I was like, what? And she's like, you're always connected to that soul. You can always call upon her assistance, her help. And lately I've been always calling her in to the interviews, to any decision I have to make. And I've noticed the more palpable guidance that was always there, but now it's more conscious.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I can feel that. That is so beautiful.
It was interesting.
So beautiful. What an honor.
Yeah.
What an honor.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Did you told your mom?
I did, of course. She knows this.
Yeah, of course, obviously.
It's like calling her up.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What a beaut. Oh, I have goosebumps. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. I have nothing else to say, but that is so beautiful. Yeah. Wow.
Let's get into a little bit more about the 5D that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned it was a lot of heart energy, but much more than that. Where were we coming from before 5D, and what is 5D? What are we at right now?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And I feel, the earth wanted to experience many different densities, many different frequencies, and it moved down to the third density. And then Earth became so dense, right? Most humans operate fully in 3D. Everything is logically what we see, is very fear-based, because if we're living from our reptilian mind, like our egoic mind that is designed to just see any threat in the now moment, we're purely perceiving the world from a 3D energy-based system, which will cause fear and pain and scarcity, and it's not a fun life to live. And I know I'm sure everyone has lived most of their life that way. And I feel that what happened was Earth needed help. It needed help. It wanted to assist. It wanted to bring the light up. And so we come down to anchor that light in too. So it's very important we stay grounded. Not always about going up. It's about going down. And the Earth is moving into a fifth dimensional state of consciousness in the process, in that energy. And so that 50 energy is going to affect our energy bodies, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we act, which is why I believe that the world is such a weird time. It's never been seen, the way people are acting, and the way people are thinking is a lot more expanded as well, though. I don't feel like this was ever a thing. It was more hush, hush, quiet. It's all getting louder. And so the fifth dimensional energy is essentially the anchor, I see it as this big ball of orange energy. That's what spirit keeps showing me it as. It's like this big ball of orange energy, and that it is all around us at all time, but most importantly, it's within us. And the reason I say it's more than just the heart and it's more than just love is because I went through a heart awakening many years ago. I was, connecting to the rose every day, rose oil, drinking cacao. It felt like there was a bomb in my chest, Emilio. It's still the only chakra in my body that I can tap into, and I can feel it. It's so strong.
Same.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But for me personally, I was very dissociated from my lower chakras. I was very dissociated from anger. I was very dissociated from the human experience. I wanted to float away like a fairy, So what ayahuasca revealed to me was there needs to be an alignment with all of them. And so that's why I say it's, I feel the root is just as important as the heart. I feel like the throat is just as important as the heart. And when we unify all of them together, the 5D intelligence is one that will support all of it. It's also in the sun. It's in the food that we're eating now. It's in when we're dancing. It's in every cell of our body. So the more we can access the energy, the body, the systems, every part of us within, that opens and expands us. So some people find, meditating boring or whatever. I'm like, if that doesn't expand you, you don't have to do it. Whatever is expanding your natural state of being, whatever is opening up your energy field, I feel that is calling on the 5D intelligence, the 5D energy, because it is not something we can see or hold, but it is a frequency. And the more we follow that energy system of expansion, the more we're moving and operating in the world that we're wanting to see. We're operating in the frequency that Earth naturally is. Which is rooted, which is expanded, which is sporadic, which is synchronistic. We look at Earth and the way trees grow, there's nothing organized about it. It's so it'll go wherever it wants to go. And that's the same with our energies. The more we expand, the more we're going to stop thinking and limiting and going, oh, can I do that? The more we're just in this receptive, open, flowing state that is guiding us. And the cool thing I see it as well as everyone else who is anchored in that you all come together. You will meet, your paths will be aligned. Like I could write a book on every story and situation. I've just met people and ran into people who have the exact same stories as me, the exact same awareness, the exact same beliefs, just through divine connection, just through an energy pulling us together. And it's a higher intelligence that is orchestrating so much. And I feel the more we get out of our mind's way and we just start to allow this divine intelligence to flood through us, to move through us, the more beautiful this life can be for ourselves, for others, for our brothers and our sisters, for everyone.
Now, you said that when you do psychic readings for maybe a person that isn't as consciously awake or aware, you see a limited amount of timelines for that person. Yeah. And when you tune into someone that is expanding their consciousness and remembering who they are at their core, you see an infinite amount of timelines. So speak to what that's like seeing that and how we can use that knowledge to tap into the timeline that is for our highest good or for our highest potential.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, because spirit always shows me there's an old spirituality and the like our age group, and they always say like teenagers to 30-year-olds are birthing a new spirituality. So the old one was kind of like you incarnate and you choose your husband and you choose this job and you live, and it's very linear. It's very like, this is your one path and your one life, and like that's it, and I'll submit. Now it's really the understanding that the power is in the humans, so that we in the present moment are constantly, I see it as spirit's just showing me right now like a chess game. Like we're constantly moving pieces that change the whole board at every second. And so when I tune into someone who does the same things, they're embedded in the same emotion, the same reality. Yes, there is only a few timelines, only a few outcomes that can happen. But for people who I say like who are cosmic, who are aware of their energy, who are doing things to expand their energy, who are following their heart, it is literally down to the present moment that can altercate timelines at any moment. You could literally, I always say this as an example, you could literally book a plane ticket and go live in Alaska tomorrow in like the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? You could be a polar bear breeder. I don't know. Just with that one simple present decision. And so timelines are not about projecting into the future. Where can I go? It is all about the present. So spirit always tells me that the present moment is where that timeline is altercated. So let's say hypothetically, you know, right now in the world, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's so much distraction. If you're like, let's say lying down and watching TikTok, okay, you can literally just choose to lock your screen and just say, I shift timelines, and you go like to the gym. You've completely shifted your reality just in that moment from that one decision. So moving to a different timeline is all about your present state and what you are choosing to do in that now moment. I always say the mantra, you know, I am now aligning with my most expanded timeline. I don't even like to say highest timeline or I don't like to say higher self that much anymore, because it implies the mind. Because when we think higher, we're looking up. I'm all about getting rooted in the human experience. So, and
the higher self right now is coming down, and we're embodying more of the higher self now.
Yeah, exactly. That is what New Earth is. 5D intelligence is before it was really the soul. It's in the body, but we were operating from a different space. Now the spirit is the body. It is fully operating in a highest, expandest way. So that is what is happening. Our bodies are able to hold that light now. They weren't before. Our bodies are ready, which is why you're saying the sun and the codes that are coming through right now. Our bodies have been preparing for so long to bring this light in. I've already forgotten what question you asked me. Oh, with the timelines. But yeah, that's what I say. Your most expanded timeline. And also having rituals that allow you to be in your highest timeline. For me, it's dancing and singing. I do a voice activation every morning, stretching, gym, dancing, whatever. That is what allows me to feel my best. So it's understanding what works for you, because it's going to be so unique and different to every single person. Yeah.
What's your voice activation like?
Yeah, so, well, it's really just doing different mantras for every chakra that open up your voice. Me and my friends sing songs. We get the drum. We do a lot of light language as well. That is something I love doing. It's not something I've publicly done, but I tune in. I'm not sure if you're aware of light language.
Of course, yeah. We had Wendy Kennedy, and she did a whole activation. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Oh, I would love to see, because the beauty of what I love with light language is when I do light language, they're telling me everything that it is in English. So as I'm saying every word, they're telling me like, this is what it means, and expressing it out. And so I love doing light language in the morning as well, because it raises your frequency. I think the voice and singing and just project, even if you're an awful singer, is such a powerful way to open up your field, because when we're thinking and we're really dense and getting in our head, the minute we're in our voice, we're expressing. And that for me is New Earth. It's expression. We're coming out of like a colorless black and white world to like really every rainbow color of expression, of joy, of laughter. So voice is a perfect way to like get that out, as well as moving emotion, moving any density in your body.
Now, here's another interesting thing about the timelines is that you mentioned the present choice that we can make, and that can alter a timeline, or even just knowing that we have free will and we can choose at any moment to change our reality. How do other people influence our timelines now?
Yeah, this is because I'm very much moving out of this world where I used to be like, other people's frequency can affect yours, because at the end of the day, we all have an aura, right? And then whatever city we're in, there's a collective aura. I was doing like a hypnosis for a client the other day, and I was picking up that her money anxiety was the collective aura of the city she was living in. And I could tune in, and then we detached her from that. So we are all part of an aura. And then when you think of the city auras, it makes up the world aura. So we are all interconnected, right? So it's very hard to say, you are in your own light without someone coming in and affecting it. Now, I don't believe there are any accidents or coincidences. I think everything is on some level synchronistic. But for me, I had to let go of this belief system that everything is my fault. I'm attracting everything. If I have an abusive situation, it is my fault, because that caused me so much detriment.
You gaslight yourself.
Hugely. There was even a Netflix documentary, I don't know if you've seen it, on like twin flames, and all these people. It is actually a really good watch. I found it very fascinating, and that was my real eye-opener awakening of like the gaslighting of spirituality that can really cause a lot of harm for people. But what I do feel is like, with the witch trials, these people who were sharing the cyclical natures of life and earth and using it as medicine were burned and killed. I don't believe like they attracted that. I feel that other people have their own energies that can unfortunately intervene. And that's kind of all part of the game. I'm not saying the witch trials, but it's like, this whole world is energetic and we're all here together. So that is kind of a part of the path within life, that everything is kind of unpredictable as well. And to be open to that, because on some level, it's actually an essence of us wanting to control everything. I mean, like, I don't want anyone else to come in and affect, and I need it to be picture perfect and this cookie cutter thing. That's not life either. So it's not getting into the fear of that. Like before I did ayahuasca, I was very much someone who was like protecting my energy every day. I was like, I don't want anyone's energy in my field. Like, get away from me. And then ayahuasca was like, why? She was like, even just think of the word protecting, like how fearful that sounds. Like I have to protect myself from anything. And if everything's like a germ or contamination. And since I've done ayahuasca, I don't do that anymore, because I'm so grounded in myself. I'm not pulling that in, but it's just an understanding. We are all one of the divine same, we are all one of the same. So there's moving out of that fear of like, will people intervene and will people affect? I always find if you are following your heart, you're following your soul's path, and you're staying true to yourself, that's all that really matters.
It's so interesting you mentioned about the protection, because that is something that I do as well. It's like, I'm going to go out to a nightclub maybe, or I go out on the street in Madrid and I'm like, protection bubble, blue aura, blue, green, all the colors. And then I was talking to Gary Zukav the other day, the author of Seed of the Soul, and it was a very beautiful interview. But in some of the questions that I would ask him, he would change the words that I use, because he said words have a consciousness. So there's some words that expand more and there's some words that contract. So in terms of protection, for example, what word would you use instead?
I love that
has a higher frequency maybe?
Yeah, I say I'm responsible for my energy. Instead of I'm protecting my energy, I'm responsible for it.
I like that.
So if I'm picking up on something that's not mine, I'll send it back. Yeah. But I don't say protect anymore, because it just makes me feel like, first, it really diminishes intimacy and connection, because you look at everyone else as like, I don't want to say threat, but that they're going to like harm you or like pull you down into a different vibe. Whereas when you are responsible, you're very open and loving and receptive to people. And it's interesting. Even that one shift, I have the closest, most intimate connections in my life from that shift. Whereas whenever I was protecting my energy, I never fully let people in either, because I was like pushing them out. I was like, you can't get in my energy field. It's too much. You're too dense or you're too whatever. Yeah.
What other words or vocabulary have you replaced in your life that has had a similar effect?
I never say the word expensive. I stopped using that about 5 years ago. I will not say that word.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, because I think it implies something is better than you. Like it's, we are the infinite being. We're the most abundant source there is. We are a soul, like we're timeless. There's nothing more expensive and rich than that. So to say like looking at something small, like, oh, this is too expensive for me. It's like diminishing your light. It's not even about the material thing. It's deeper rooted anchor of who you are, It's
also, if you look at the etymology, I don't know too much about etymology, but if you take the root of expensive expense, like when you say, oh, this happened to that person at the expense of, it sounds like a sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Like you're making a sacrifice for what?
Yeah.
I bought myself a nice watch at the expense of what, interesting to see it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I also don't say blessed anymore. I used to say be blessed a lot. Sometimes I sign off blessing, but I always think that's like be less. So I always say blessed. You've even noticed every word, like even like television, tell a lie through vision, or remote control. It's a remote controlling you. And I'm just conscious of all these words. I'm fascinated by words, but I'm not like super paranoid of my words either, to be honest. But there's certain words I shifted, I think it's more perspectives and approaches I shifted, not like necessarily like not saying a word and like being strict, but I don't say expensive. I made that decision a long time ago. Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that to light, because even anyone tuning in can start seeing what words they use the most. And if they truly recognize it, like for example, I would use incredible a lot. And when you say incredible, it's like, oh, it's something that it's not credible. You can't believe it.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And just even taking that out of my vocabulary, or when I'm conscious of it, it just changes. Words are spells. Literally, words are spells. So thank you for bringing that to light. You mentioned ayahuasca a couple of times throughout the interview. I'm interested to know, what did ayahuasca show you about the future of humanity?
Yeah, I love ayahuasca so much. I remember for so long, I was raised Christian, like very Christian. I have nothing against Christians at all or anything, but I very much felt God was outside of me. And ayahuasca, I remember the day I did it, she was like, I'm your God now. I'm your mother now. I'm your father now. I'm your lover now. And even that shifted my whole perspective of life, that it was inside. Ayahuasca did so much things for me, but she did show me a lot of humanity. And also that the truth being is that it will get darker before it gets better. And the reason for that is the things need to be expressed. So the ancestral trauma, the pain that's been diminished, the suppression of voice, the neglection of emotion, all these layers that are sitting inside of people, they have to be expressed. And that is the divine feminine. It's messy. If you see like a cow giving birth, like one of the most beautiful things, like of someone giving birth, like that's messy. It's screaming. It doesn't have to be, but like for most women, it's like, it was showing me I don't want to say like the raw feminine energy that will have to come out. But on the other side, it showed me as well that there will be so much community. We'll be connecting through community. Money will be an energy exchange. It's honoring each person. And one thing ayahuasca said for humans is like, we're not meant to be good at everything. We're not meant to master every single skill. We have our own unique medicine, and that's what creates community. Because if we were good at every single thing, we wouldn't need each other. So she was like very much harnessing this idea of like, you need to know that you're not meant to be good at everything. You're going to be awful at things because you're meant to be good at the things that you're good at. And that allows the community aspect. It very much, and I remember hearing this so strongly, like systems must go. Like she was like, all the systems are going to go. I did also feel, if I'm being honest, Earth is going to erupt in many ways. There will be a lot of climate things happening. And it depends what perspective you're looking at it from. But from the Earth's perspective, she's mad and she wants to get our attention. So she was showing me that there are going to be climate disasters happening. But on the flip side of that, what was shown to me was the community that will come out of that, and the people that will have to come together because their homes will be destroyed, that there will be things that will happen. They'll lose everything. All they have is community. And it was showing me, people are going to be sitting around the fire, just singing and going back to old tribal times and the connection. It was very much understanding and showing me that things aren't as concrete as we seem, but it is for a higher good, that something new, a new earth is being purged, a new earth is being birthed. And as long as we follow that 5D intelligence, we are on the way to that. So essentially that's what she showed me. And then also kind of zoomed me out and showed me like every galaxy, every star system, every being is like staring at Earth, like in fascination with what's going on. And I remember the shaman was like, Ella, are you okay? Because I was just sitting on the floor laughing, and I was like, I get it. I was like, I know why I'm here. This is so funny. Like I was laughing hysterically while people were like crying. And I was just like, this is so funny to me. Like the Earth, like this whole process on Earth is like, it's so exciting. And it's everyone's watching Earth right now. And one thing that does put me at ease though is, and Dolores Cannon always spoke about this, that the one rule on this Earth experience, because they can intervene, that's the purpose. This is a training ground. The one thing that they will not allow is for the Earth to be destroyed. If that does take place, they can intervene. And that always gives me peace in my heart, because I literally love the Earth so much. So just knowing that also calms me down. And ayahuasca showed me that as well.
In those visions, were you also aware of what they call the Galactic Federation?
Yeah, I knew about them for a while. I speak to them a lot, but no, they didn't actually come through in my journey. What's interesting is actually me and my friend, we're like children again. We can only watch kids movies. I don't know if you're the same. Like we cannot watch like mainstream movies anymore because it's too scripted. It's too fake for me. And we've been watching all these kids movies and how much messages are in them. So we were watching Lilo and Stitch, the movie, and the opening part is the Galactic Federation of Light, basically trying to get Stitch back because he was like an alien that got onto Earth, and that creation isn't meant to be on Earth. And the Galactic Federation of Light are like, we need to bring Stitch back. So like we were starting like Monsters Inc., all these movies, it's there. Like it's all there. You should, if you watch Lilo and Stitch, the movie, I really recommend it, because the messages are all there. But yeah, wait, why were you asking about Galactic Federation of Light?
I mean, from my knowledge, that's also the federation that oversees if humanity gets too close to destroying themselves, they'll step in.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was from them too, but yeah, they're very high up. Like I whenever I connect, it's like just their pure light. It's like a very cosmic light, but very analytical too.
And you were also repeating in that ayahuasca journey, I want to be a woman. I want to be a woman. What does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh. So, and my heart breaks for this. And I broke down crying in the second day for women, because I feel one thing I moved to Bali for was to study womb healing. And it was encapsulated in my life for like a year, and just understanding how cyclical women are, how much the world is very much on a masculine clock, a 24-hour cycle, and how cyclical women are. And we're not designed for that. And really, I have a huge passion for like, the industries for women that are supporting their bodies not in a great way, like birth control, or even just like period products that are like literally amputating women's legs off them because it's intoxicating their bodies. And so my heart broke for women who are overworking. Spirit showed me kind of like any form of like juice or like erotic energy, the sensual energy was just being pulled out of women because they're burnt out, they're hustling, they're working because the world is requiring that for people. And I realized that all these dreams I had that were like fulfilling that narrative, I was like, I'm not sacrificing that anymore. And I was just sitting there crying. I was like, I want to be a woman. I want to rest. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be in pleasure. I want to be in health. I would just want to cook. I want to be in the true feminine cycle that I am. And ayahuasca was like, I'll support you with that. I'll allow you to fulfill that. And I have been, and it's been beautiful. And I really want that for any woman who is hearing this and like feels burnt out, that is an option. There is always a way. It can work in magical, miracle ways for you to create something that can sustain you in many different forms. But ayahuasca will very much pull women specifically back to their center hugely. It brings a very big awareness to the body and to the feminine cyclical cycle that we are. Yeah.
And what role does the moon play in all of that, in bringing women back to their center?
Yeah. Oh my God. The moon, I love the moon so much. The moon is a very feminine cyclical cycle. And what fascinates me is even that myself, all my friends we're synced with the moon. Like our periods will come on the moon, like full moons or new moons. It's like how synced women are. And for thousands of years, women all around the world gathered around in circles and they would sing and they would connect to the moon. And it was this tribal ancestral practice where they would honor the cyclical nature that they are. And that's completely been pulled back. But I do sense that it's coming through now. People are becoming very aware of the new moon and the full moon, and they're noticing how it heightens their senses, because the water, or the moon, controls the water, controls the tides. And so I don't know what it is. It's like we're 80% water. So like we really do respond emotionally to the moon as well. And respecting the moon, but also the sun, both of these beautiful planets that are here for us, can support us in many different forms. And I feel for women and men, if they're wanting to connect their feminine energy, specifically their intuition, their emotions, simply speaking to the moon. I talk to her all the time, like speaking to her, breathing with her, meditating with her, just connecting to her essence. Even just understanding she comes out at night, she just rests and glows just by being, So there's many different forms you can connect to the moon to enhance parts of you, because we are the moon, we are the sun, we are the earth, we're all of it. So it has a very beautiful place in my heart.
Yeah. And a lot of these teachings come from shamanism, and I've been learning a lot from shamanism right now. And for someone that isn't too much in tune with this world, they'd be like, what do you mean you talk to the moon, bro? Like, yeah, what are you smoking? What does shamanism say about our connection to the elements, to the star systems, so that we can have a conscious communication with the beings, the conscious beings that are around us?
Yeah. I mean, one thing I adore about shamanism is a lot of New Age spirituality is just up. It's really just like up to the spirit, up to aliens. Let's talk to the galactic, which is beautiful. But shamanism's whole philosophy is the tree of life. And when you look at the tree of life, the up is just as important as the roots and the down. So when I started studying shamanism, really respecting the elements, I understood that even our bodies are just elements. If you even think of like the four elements, like earth, water, air, and fire, water, air, and earth are quite contaminated now. Fire is the only element that can't be contaminated, like, because it can go, like it can get, so I find this is like off topic of why I'm saying this, but I find that's why I'm very drawn to fire right now. And every connection I do with my guides, they're telling them to connect to the fire, because it's the only one that's so alive and pulsating. And the more we anchor that power in our root of fire, the more we're going to be able to shift our reality. But going back to that, I think, it's kind of a funny one, like having conversations and trying to convince people when they think you're crazy. I mean, even me and my friends discuss, like, how does a woman not go through a spiritual awakening from giving birth? I do not get it, because I think it is the most mystical thing I've ever seen in my life, that the body can produce teeth, it can produce a heart, it can produce eyes. Like, that in itself is magic to me. So I guess, is your question like, how do I explain the elements to someone who's non-believing, or how do you have an open discussion about it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
That's an interesting one. I feel that, it's really understanding. I just put your hand up against a tree. Our tree is our hands are the earth. Our bodies are the earth. We have water in our body. We are living off chi, which is life force, which is breath, which is air. And then our soul is like the fire. It's the essence of why we're here. It's our purpose. I guess I would have to speak in my woo way, because it's not very practical way I can explain, but I love the elements, and I always love asking people what their star sign is, because I'm so fascinated by people that really resemble the element that they are. And there's a Netflix show at the moment, I think it's called Synching. I'll have to send it to you what it is, but it's basically this training school that everyone is an element, so they all have a gift. They're like fairies or whatever. So like one girl's gift is fire, one girl's gift is air, one girl's gift is water. And just witnessing the potent power in each of these elements is insane. You know, I speak to my food every day, and that's like earth. I like pray and infuse it. My water, I bless it every day. I have crystals in my water. I infuse my water overnight. I put it out to the moon because every cell in our body is working with water. The more you can respect and honor the elements, you're respecting yourself. And the more you can enhance just like the little things in your life, like just making the simple practice to like pray over your food and send energy and intention into your food has like changed my life dramatically. I won't miss it now. I don't care who's watching. I'm like, for as long as I need. Yeah.
What star sign do you think I am?
Earth or fire?
Neither.
Are you fire?
Neither.
Are you water?
Yes.
Really? Are you a Pisces?
I'm a Cancer.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. That's like the one sign, the water signs I'm not as familiar with. I don't have many people in my life who are water. I have no water in my chart at all. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been watching for a while now, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of my favorite series out there, and they just put out the live action. So recommend people also, because it's also a fun way, an entertaining way to get to know these elements as well. Like each tribe is different, and they have like different characteristics and the way that they build their societies and all of that. So
yeah, that's so interesting. My best friend is a Cancer, and we've watched that movie like 5 times since being here. And she's like, all she wants to be is the water tribe. And I'm like, no, like I need to be with the earth. Are you the water?
I don't even know. know.
Okay, that's so interesting.
I'm all of them.
Okay.
We get that Avatar state.
It's the best movie ever.
One of the last things I wanted to touch with you is, I know you have a platform called the Goddess Membership. And in that, when obviously I can't sign up maybe because I'm not a goddess yet, but but there's a process that you walk the women through of writing a contract. And if you're open to share, what are some of the non-negotiables that you have in your own goddess contract?
Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful practice I did, which was writing a promise to myself, a commitment to myself. And I, again, going back to one of the first things is when I speak about this stuff, I come across very serious, but in my life, in my personal life, I'm anything but it. And I actually have that as one of my top non-negotiables. I used to be, when I first got into spirituality, I was so like serious, and I thought I had to hold myself a certain way and act like an angel and be so kind and really just like be this way. And so my non-negotiable now is no more seriousness. I don't take anything seriously anymore. Anything. I really try and dilute that and look at it through the lens of children. I really try and see my life as play, an opportunity to play. And I always allow one of my contracts, one of my non-negotiables to be, I will always love and support myself, and always going back to the anchor. Of course, there's times I forget that love exists in me, but most of the time when I'm in those stages, I always remember that anchor is inside of me. It's very spiritual commitments more than physical, you know, like of course, eat healthy. I love going to the gym. I love dancing. I love doing my practices, but at the end of the day, it's the deep non-negotiables, the commandments, if you will, like that really keep me striving and keep me going. Connecting to earth. That is one thing I always pray to her. I connect to her. Those are non-negotiables to me. And also never sacrificing my truth to please someone else. That is huge for me. I feel like my whole life I've gone against the grain. My mom always says, if she tells me to go left, I'm going to go right. And I refuse to be anything but who I am, or I refuse to conform to something that I don't feel in alignment with. And that is definitely my biggest one. I'm not going to abandon myself ever. I will always follow my truth. I will always follow my heart, no matter if people think it's crazy, if people think I'm even maybe selfish or for whatever it is, because I can't do something unless it's for my highest, it's in my truth. And I'm okay with the way people see that, as long as I know. And that is a sense of backing myself. Spirit showed me, like, I always write down my dreams. And the other night, Spirit showed me this dream of, like, I was in like this football stadium. There was like 40,000 people there in this dream. And basically this dream was showing me that every single person in this stadium hated me. And at first, for like basically they all were saying stuff about me. And there was like a moment I was upset, and the next minute I felt so much power from it. I was like, how powerful is it that I can still back and love myself, and like no matter everyone in the world's narrative of me. And I feel like that's a beautiful synonym to kind of what I'm explaining, is like, I will always follow my truth and speak that truth, regardless if it seems crazy to people. And that, I think, is the thing everyone should be striving for, is not abandoning ourselves, not abandoning who we are, because we don't have to know who we are. We just have to be who we are. You know, we don't have to analyze, who am I? How am I going to act? Just embody and be authentically who you are. And I feel that is a 1,000 billion million % my non-negotiable throughout my entire life. It will always be. Yeah. And what about you?
And also, I mean, just a reflection of that is the true master of the elements or an alchemist can take even the deepest negativity that's out in the world and transmute it. That's why in that dream, you were also gaining power, even from people shedding any negativity towards you. And yeah, I think I also wanted to ask you about if you had any specific message for the divine masculine that's emerging in the world.
It's interesting because when I tune into that, it's like, it's very much in both energy. It's in both bodies. You know, even when I say divine feminine, I speak about products. It's in both of us. But I feel for divine masculine, it is the first thing that comes to my mind, and what I feel is truth. It's really honoring truth right now, because a divine masculine is standing up for what you believe in and rising, and really not taking a back burner, not taking a stand, being like a front runner. And so if there is a part of you that doesn't agree with something in a system, or doesn't feel that you want to support that, I feel it is following your truth and rising in that and stepping up in that, not feeling like, oh, will I step on anyone's toes? Will people judge you? Will my family neglect me? Will disown me? We really need that masculine energy. Like, it is king. It is God to me, because it's what's needed right now is the front runner. So it's not being afraid of that power. It's not being afraid of the primalness as well. I feel like a lot of spirituality kind of diminishes that we're primal. It's like honoring that. Like whenever I have calls with men, it always comes through. They need to start expressing sacred rage. They need to honor like this fire in them. They need to honor this hunter in them. All of these natural urges. So it's letting go of what we think we're meant to be again, and tuning into what is our truth, what feels right. And that's the only way you can outrun any system, any program. That spirit always shows me, it's just programs are running it, until we drop out of that and just trust what is it that is emerging in me. And that is emerging just as deeply as the feminine. And I actually think it's needed more than the feminine right now, interestingly enough, because that is what's going to hold the space for the feminine to rise. If we're not supporting the feminine, it's like unstable. It's not going to be able to have an anchor. The masculine is very much the anchor. And that's what shamanism all is about. It's the rootedness. It's the base. It's the standing in your power and being the holding light for that.
Yeah. And also to reveal the truth of the feminine, the masculine needs to learn how to listen. And you mentioned holding space. And I think for many years, the patriarchy has ruled out women from giving any opinion, for giving any direction of where society and culture should go. And now I believe they're stepping more into their power, the feminine. And now it's our job, like the masculine, to allow, whatever needs to come through and listen. Because if we don't listen to each other, we won't go anywhere. We're going to be constantly in this polarity of back and forth, sort of like a war mentality. And I think we're transcending that.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Ella, we end every show with a segment called the Final Trio. Which are final questions that you can answer in any way that you want. But before we get into that, where would you send people to find you, find more of your work, your courses, your platform? Where would you send people to connect with you further?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't use Instagram anymore. So the only place you will find me is YouTube at Ella Ringrose. So I'm sure you can link that down below. That's where I'm at all the time, and you can find all my links there.
And you made a comeback to YouTube because you were off for a couple months, right?
Yeah, it's so funny because Ayahuasca told me I had to make those videos, and I was apprehensive for like 6 months. I was actually going through a lot of, I'm going to sound literally crazy, But the minute she showed me all of this was going to happen, so I knew this was going to happen. I knew I was going to have to make that comeback eventually. And then one day in Bali, I just heard the time, and it felt like that 5D energy was just pulling me to my computer and was like, just speak. And so spirit very much controls my YouTube. If I get a download to make a video, I do it. I don't plan it. I don't know what I'm going to say. They tell me the title and that's it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to tell me what title they want for this video, and we'll put it in.
I actually will. I will. Yeah.
For the final trio, the first two questions are personalized to the guests, and then the final one we ask at the end of every show.
Beautiful.
The first one is, what's the latest quantum jump or miracle that you experienced in your life?
I think the greatest miracle for me, I have been traveling for 5 years and I've lived alone so much of these years. I was like in my own little bubble living alone. And I think the greatest miracle for me is how Source has just been planting the most beautiful people in my life. I said a prayer about, I think like a couple months ago, being like, I'm ready for like people. I'm ready for like not being alone. It's too serious for me to be alone all the time. And I just heard this voice saying so clearly, you're not going to be alone anymore. And since then, I like moved in with my best friend. And even when in Bali, like meeting all these people that just flooded in the minute I made that. That's been honestly my greatest achievement and accomplishment is my connections in my life. I cherish them to the ground. And I feel it's an utter miracle. Specifically who I'm living with right now, it feels like a miracle. Like a literal miracle. Every day I'm like, I love you. Like, I'm so happy. This is so fun.
It's that cancer energy. It's that cancer energy.
Probably. It's my greatest miracle. And I feel so blessed. I'm so proud of it. Yeah. It's the people in my life. Mm-hmm.
I love that. So happy for you.
Thank you.
The second question is, what codes do you exchange with other people when they interact with you?
Oh my God. I feel I encourage people to be nothing but themselves. Even if people think it sounds crazy what I'm encouraging people to do, I'm like, freaking do it. I'm like, go do that. Speak about this online. Don't care what people think. Like, I very much want people to shine. I very much love bringing the fire out in people. I'm like, you go do what you need to do. Go do this, cut your hair, get this, whatever. I love encouraging people to unleash the inner rebel, I guess you could say, but not even in the rebel sense. It's rebelling from what a system has told you, from what conformity, what society has told you to be like. Because I've gone through so many deaths of just everything I've thought I know into forming into new. I'm just like, just surrender to it, do it. I'm like here for the deaths. I'm here for the purging. I'm here for the like even during ayahuasca when everyone was getting sick, I thought it was the most beautiful thing ever. I find such beauty in pain. I cherish my most painful moments, my most dark nights. Even like if I'm purging in a ceremony, I'm like, I love it. I'm just like, let's bring out all of it. Let's express all of it. Let's be all of it. And I feel that is something that I really reflect in people, is because I can really see and witness people. I can really see their souls and their potential and who they really are, and allowing that to like flourish. Kind of like the soul is the seed, and like the flowers and the whatever trees want to grow out of you. That's what I like allowing people, is like the growing aspect to come out. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you did that for anyone tuning in and for me throughout this whole conversation. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this last question, we call it the time capsule question. And it requires us to travel out a bit into the future, around 15 or 20 years. And the reason I chose out that time frame is because that is going to be a moment when people from our generation, our age group, Generation Z, are going to be stepping into leadership positions around the world. And you had the opportunity to leave behind a time capsule for these leaders of the new earth. And imagine them all walking in, all the leaders. It's, everyone's going to be leading in their own way, but those who have really stepped into their leadership, they walk into a room, they see all these time capsules laid out, and there's one with your name on it that they're going around the room and they're picking up codes from these time capsules, tools, frequencies, transmission codes that these people have left behind, that you will leave behind for them, for the purpose of leading into the new earth. So what would you include inside of this time capsule? It doesn't have to be anything that necessarily fits into the physical of the time capsule. It could be anything that you can think of, but what would you leave behind for these leaders?
Wow, that made me emotional. That made me feel like crying. That's so beautiful. Definitely a drum, some form of a musical instrument, like a drum or a rattle, but I think a drum. I just feel the power in a drum. I have to drum every morning, and connecting, it connects you to the heart, the earth's heart. It brings you to different worlds. I feel like a drum is a very like powerful energy as well. It's like an anchoring of who you are. A drum. This is a really random one, but color is so important to me. And I feel like color therapy is going to be a huge thing in the future. I respond extremely well to color. I need all my clothes. Ironic, I'm wearing cream, but I need color. And I'd probably like leave like one of these. I have a million pashminas that like I put on my bed, I put on my tables, I put on my desks, because they hold frequency, they hold code, they hold energy. If I want more love, I wear green. Like, so I'd probably put a pashmina in because they're like these scarf things, because color for me is very important. It's very special. And I feel it can shift your whole, oh my God, the whole way you feel. You feel more authentic when you're dressed the way you want. And then thirdly, gosh, this is a funny one, and this is such a basic, ironic one, but it would probably be hape or rape, the plant medicine. Yeah. I adore holding rape ceremonies for people. I love serving rape. It's such a special thing for me, and it has connected me so deeply to the earth. And I'd be like, try that. Yeah. Go have fun with that.
It's powerful. For people that don't know what that is, what is rape for you?
Yeah, it's a tobacco plant. It's called snuff, if you will, or sniff is what they called it. And you through a pipette, you blow it up your nose, and it activates, for me, it activates my body, but for a lot of people, it activates their highest chakras. But it's an extremely grounding plant. And it has brought me through and carried me through some of my hardest times, my most beautiful times. It's what activated my light language gifts. It's what pulled in a soul braid for me. I remember I did a rape ceremony. I stood up and I was like, oh, I'm back on earth. I was like, I remember it very well. Like, it was like a part of me that came back that I hadn't, like, was in a different galaxy. I don't know. It's an extremely beautiful grounding plant medicine. It's not psychedelic. It's really just something that will last like 15 minutes of you moving through and breathing. But it brought so much awareness to the anxiety in my body, because the first times I did it, I was panicking, scared. So it hyphens a lot. It helped me to breathe, bring awareness just of my breath. It actually holds such a dear place in my heart. So I would definitely leave that, and I would just be like, try it. Like, just go use it. Like, go through the messiness and you'll get out the other side.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ella, and on top of this time capsule, there's a gold plate etched into the time capsule with your name on it. And you can carve in a question, like a contemplative, reflective question for these leaders. What would you ask them?
Oh my God, that's a hard one. Let me tune in. I just heard the word, did you remember to love today?
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. What would yours be? I'm curious.
In what I would include in the time capsule, or?
Yeah.
The tables have turned. I've asked this question over like 70 times. And I've heard so many different answers. And, there's one that has always stuck with me. I mean, they've all been very special, but one that I've continuously focused on for the future, if we can even create a technology like this, would be, this was actually a channeled answer that Lee Harris, he channeled during the show, and I asked his guides, the Z's, and they said that imagine a egg that you could step into, and when you step into this egg, you feel the full frequency of love, so that anytime you're not in that vibration, you know what love doesn't feel like, because you've experienced it directly, what it feels like. And imagine a world where people could just know when they're outside of that frequency and then learn to tune back in. that would completely like, oh, I'm about to have like a big reaction of rage and say all these horrible things to a person that I love. What if we can just learn to move back into love? And the question would be, what does love feel like? So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, the Z said it better. I'll also put that in the show notes. That interview with Lee Harris was beautiful. But yeah, I mean, we can include a lot of things in the time capsule. Rape would be up there as well, and cacao. We would put some cacao. I drink cacao every interview. When you see me with this blue thing bottle, it's cacao, 100%.
Oh my God. How did I not think about that? My friend jokes that like when I have a daughter, I'm going to call her cacao. She's like convinced. I would never, but she's like, that's so funny. That's actually why I moved to Guatemala to like study cacao. Because I did.
The one in Colombia is better.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. Well, when I was training, I did 6-month cacao training in Ireland to be a cacao ceremonialist because I was obsessed and it helped when I was grieving with a lot. And I always said I was going to go to Guatemala to study cacao, going to Guatemala to study cacao. And I actually, coming here, I forgot I kept saying that. And my Airbnb, there's a cacao shop, like literally above this room right here. And like our landlord is a cacao farmer.
No way.
Yeah.
There's your start.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Ella, it's been such an honor, such a pleasure connecting with you and seeing the reflection as well. Like people that don't know, we are the same age, and I think it's the first person that we've had on the show that's the same age. So
beautiful.
It's beautiful to see young leaders stepping into their purpose and truly leading from the heart. I think it's very powerful, and you hold a very powerful energy to you. And I really am excited to see what's next for you and support you in any way that I can.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor, such a blessing as well. Literally the exact same back to you. You're a very strong master of light and a very beautiful leader, and just the exact same back to you. I can't wait to see what you do and what you create and the legacy you leave behind.
And may we continue co-creating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emilio. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Thank you.